Unless something dramatic happens in the final 11 games, Leeds United will be promoted to the Premier League. Although when Leeds United are involved, there's always the possibility of something dramatic happening at the end of the season. It will be their second promotion to the Premier League in 5 years after, of course, going up under Marcelo Bielsa in 2020. Now, when Leeds got promoted last time out, I thought that was it. I didn't think we'd see Leeds back in the Championship. I thought they would get to the Premier League, establish themselves and stay there. Because, of course, Leeds are a huge club. They are a Premier League club in all but division in 18 of the past 21 seasons. They're the biggest club outside of the top flight and have spent much more time outside of it than they should have. So it's about time they got back to the Prem. But the big question is, will things be different this time around? To help us figure this out, we're going to be looking at 5 different areas before making a conclusion. I'm Dilks from the second tier, and this is Will Leeds United stay up in the Premier League?
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
We have to start off with probably the biggest factor Leeds will have to deal with upon their impending return to the top flight, because things are very different this time around. It's harder than ever to stay in the top flight. As things stand, we're on course for all 3 promoted sides to get relegated in back-to-back seasons. Not only is that ominous, but it also means you've got all the sides who have stayed up having had 3 seasons worth of Premier League money and 3 seasons of assembling Premier League squads. The battle lines have completely changed. English football is facing a very real threat of having the same 17 teams in the Premier League every season. It's becoming pretty apparent to me that not only do you have to be very prepared when going up to the Premier League, you need one of those 17 teams to have an absolute stinker for you to have any chance of staying up. Even then, that might not be enough, because those 17 teams have squads which are so much stronger and resources so much larger than any newly promoted side. However, it's got to be pointed out, Leeds aren't your average newly promoted side, for one reason in particular.
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
Yes, we all know Leeds are a very big club, but other factors mean financially they're one of the best placed sides we've seen get promoted to the Premier League ever. The 49ers Enterprises Group are believed to be amongst the wealthiest owners in English football, with a reported net worth of around £6 billion. They've got the extra investment they've received from elsewhere as well, including several celebrities like Russell Crowe, Will Ferrell and Jordan Spieth. However, one group of investors are more notable than the rest, and you could say they're hoping to give Leeds United their wings. It's quite hard to say what impact the Red Bull investment will have, but it's got to be seen as a good thing. Whether that's purely financially or with the more strategic side of things behind the scenes, it could be a big advantage for Leeds going forwards. You add in the fact they received over £140 million in transfer fees last summer, it means Leeds are in a great place financially and in terms of profit and sustainability. You compare that to Leicester, for example, who had to sell their best player in Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall last summer just to stay within the financial rules. That's why financially, Leeds are one of, if not the strongest sides we've seen going up to the Premier League. So with these strong-looking finances, how much of it will be used this coming summer? Well, that brings me nicely on to...
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
Now, this might be a controversial shout, but I think Leeds would have been better off getting promoted last season, because I think they've got a stronger squad than they do this season. I would be more confident in them staying up if they had Crescencio Somerville and Jorginho Ruta, but there's no point dwelling on it because they're not there anymore. However, the fact they're probably going to win the league this season with a squad which I see as weaker than last season says a lot about the standard of the promotion race this season. I think it's the weakest race in a while, and this Leeds team for me is not as strong as the team that went up under Marcelo Bielsa in 2020. So Leeds 100% will have to sign players if they indeed do go up this season. We'll start off with probably the most obvious position they have to improve, and that's the goalkeeper. It's not dramatic to say that Leeds may have promotion wrapped up even at this stage in the season if they had a better goalkeeper than Illan Meslier. He has cost Leeds on so many occasions this season, and keep in mind, he's not exactly been the busiest keeper in the division. He's definitely going to be a hell of a lot busier in the Premier League, so they undoubtedly have to get another goalkeeper in. In defence, for me, they have a Premier League ready pairing in Pascal Struijk and Joe Rodon at centre-back. I think this is the position that they're actually the strongest in, so this is right at the bottom of the priority list. Fullback is a bit trickier. You've got Junior Firpo and Jayden Bogle, who have been two of the best in their positions this season. Going forwards, there's no criticism of them at all. They're excellent. They are Premier League fullbacks in that regard. However, they're going to be doing a lot more defending in the Premier League, and are they good enough in that respect? the jury's out. Now Leeds play with a 4-2-3-1, and in that two, you'd ideally have Ao Tanaka and Ethan Ampadu, who are 100% Premier League ready. Tanaka in particular is just absolutely class and will suit the Premier League perfectly. So far, I'm pretty satisfied with the defence and midfield. It's the attack where I do have concerns. Now, that seems mad to be saying about the side who are by far the top scorers in the Championship this season, but I definitely think they need to strengthen. Brendan Aaronson's been playing in the number 10 role all season, and I will be honest, I'm not a huge fan. Not saying he's useless and Leeds should sell. I've just not been overly impressed with him this season, considering he's playing in this Leeds team who are by far and away the best team in the division. If they were starting with him every week in the Premier League, I'd be concerned. Now on the wings you've got Dan James, Manor Solomon, Willie Gnonto and Large Ramazani. Dan James, fair play to him, has been in Leeds' top 3 players this season. He's definitely been their most improved player this season and will have a role to play in the Premier League in some shape or form. Manor Solomon's been class, but he is only on loan, so will Leeds be able to get him back? Don't know. Willie Gnonto and Large Ramazani have both played roles this season and I'm sure will feature for Leeds in the Premier League. But even if they get Solomon back, I'd be looking at those options and be thinking they need at least 1 or 2 wingers. And then you've got the striker, which for me is the next biggest priority after the goalkeeper. Yes, Joel Pirro's amongst the top scorers in the Championship this season. He's a great finisher, his link-up play is great, but physically I'd have question marks over whether he's good enough for the top flight. You've also got Mateo Joseph, who's a great prospect, but on plenty of occasions has shown he is guilty of being wasteful in front of goal. So when you're looking at Leeds' strongest 11, they definitely need a goalkeeper, a striker, a number 10, at least 1 or 2 wingers, and possibly new fullbacks. So it's quite a chunky shopping list already, but that's before you even get onto what a lot of people forget when it comes to newly promoted sides getting to the Premier League, and that's the desperate need for squad depth. It's not just about having an 11 strong enough to compete in the Premier League. You essentially need at least 2 11s to properly compete in an entire Premier League season. A perfect example is Ethan Ampadu. Leeds can get away with losing a player as good as him for several months in the Championship, but they won't be able to get away with that in the Premier League. And that goes back to the problems I was alluding to earlier with the gap between the Premier League and the Championship. All the teams who have been in the Premier League now for 3 seasons, will be 4 heading into next season, essentially have 2 or 3 11s who are strong enough to compete at Premier League level. So Leeds can't get in enough bodies, even in their strongest positions such as centre-back in midfield. It wouldn't hurt to get in 1 or 2 more. They just need in as many bodies as possible. And shortly we'll move on to my biggest concern for Leeds heading into the Premier League. This video is brought to you by our good friends at SBK. If you haven't heard of them yet, then where have you been? SBK's comprehensive range of markets and exclusive offers makes it the best place to bet on the Championship this season. Whether you're creating an accumulator or customising your bet builder, SBK has got you covered. Don't believe us? Sign up today and find out.
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
Daniel Farke is a Championship legend. There's absolutely no doubt about that. His record at this level is ridiculous. His record in the Premier League, however, he's got the worst points per game record in Premier League history for any manager who's been in charge of more than 25 games. And that's because he's had 2 seasons in the top flight with Norwich, and on both occasions they finished rock bottom and weren't even close to staying up. Now, in fairness to him, on both occasions Norwich's recruitment heading into the Premier League was really poor, and that wasn't his fault. But the fact they were so uncompetitive in 2 seasons does really worry me. I've always had slight question marks over Daniel Farke, particularly with his game management, and I think tactically he can be naive. He also relies on individuals, and it's fine doing that when you're in the Championship with Manor Solomon, Emi Buendia or Crescencio Somerville, because they're the most talented players in the Championship. But in the Premier League, they're not. They're coming up against defenders who are the same standard as them or better. And when that happens, you need a bit more tactical ingenuity to get you through games. And I'd have question marks over whether Daniel Farke has got that at the top level. Now, of course, Leeds could sack him if they have a poor start and get in someone better, but can Leeds afford to have a bad start? This might be an outrageous thing to say, and it's not going to happen, so it's probably not worth mentioning, but I don't think it would be the worst thing on earth from a Leeds perspective if they were to get rid of Daniel Farke in the summer, even after he got them promoted. That may upset a few Leeds fans, but think about it like this. If Leeds were to get promoted under a different manager and then sacked him in the Premier League after a few games, would you get in Daniel Farke to replace him? I think we all know the answer to that. We've got one final factor to consider here now.
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
This may sound cheesy, but I genuinely do think the fans will play a big role in Leeds' season. On so many occasions, the support at Ellen Road has got them through games. They've got by far the best home record in the Championship. And when you go back through their brief return to the Premier League, their home record was pretty good then as well. So being able to create an intense atmosphere for visiting sides could give them that extra edge in the fight to stay up.
We love you, Leeds, Leeds, Leeds.
Look, last time Leeds went up, it was a dream. They actually finished 9th in their first season back, which I think a lot of people forget about. But the circumstances are a lot different now, with the gap between the Premier League and the Championship growing at an alarming rate. If Leeds went up and were offered 17th place at the start of the season, they should undoubtedly take it without a moment's hesitation. The first thing is, whoever comes up with Leeds is definitely going to struggle as well. Probably even more so because no one else in the Championship is as Premier League ready as Leeds United are. So the likelihood is there's going to be 2 teams below Leeds next season. Whether there's a third, it's a lot trickier to say. As I was alluding to earlier, the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is so large now that to stand any chance of staying up, you need one of those teams who have stayed up this season to have an absolute shocker next season. Wolves have had one this season, which gave Ipswich and Leicester a bit of hope for a while, but this is almost more important than Leeds having a really good transfer window this summer, because their survival chances may be a non-starter if none of those 17 teams have a really bad season. However, Leeds need to give themselves the best possible chance just in case someone does have a stinker. Leeds' signings this season have given me confidence that they will sign well in the summer. Jayden Bogle, Ao Tanaka, Manor Solomon have all been excellent, and I can see them spending a record amount of money for a newly promoted side, so that's very encouraging. As mentioned, Daniel Farke, he's got a lot to prove when it comes to being good enough in the Premier League. But even if that doesn't go well, they could replace him early with someone better. So it's entirely possible that Leeds head into the Premier League next season as the strongest side coming up from the Championship in the last few years. However, it might be entirely futile because of the gap between the Premier League and the Championship, which I know I keep banging on about in this video, but that's just unfortunately where we're at. So will Leeds stay up next season? If they do go up, I think the most likely scenario is they finish 18th. All they can really do is get promotion sorted, start preparing for what needs to be the best summer transfer window of their lives, and cross everything they've got that one of those 17 teams has a stinker next season. Will that be enough though? Unfortunately, that's the current state of English football. So there we have it. This has been, will Leeds United stay up in the Premier League next season? Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. I've been Ryan Dilks from the Second Tier, and a big thank you for watching.